Hello, team. I just wanted to create a really quick and to the point recording to help those of you who want to get started with the new class system, but you also want to know how to sample effectively as soon as possible so that you can get people to your classes, right? I want to reemphasize that this is not going to be the full system training. This is going to be a really quick introduction to how to effectively sample so that you can get people to show up to your classes if you're planning on utilizing that new powerful class script that we just rolled out the other day. So I'm going to dive right into it. I'm going to be talking about two things. One, organizing a list, creating and organizing a list, which is very important. You can't get to the sampling part if you haven't created a list yet. And then I'm also going to show you how to quickly and effectively sample people so that it leads to them attending a class to learn more. All right. So let me first talk about organizing a list. As I said, you can't get to that sampling part unless you've already created a list. Your goal is going to be to create a list of right around 100 names. And if that sounds intimidating to you, it shouldn't. It's actually not that hard. Studies show that people know somewhere between 500 and 1,500 people on average. So 100 people should be no problem. We're not talking about your best friends here, right? You're just talking about people that you could somehow contact. And if you contacted them, they'd have an idea of who you were. So you just want to get names down on a list. This is going to be your first exercise, if you haven't done this yet, is going to be kind of like a brain dump. Whether you're going through your phone or you're going through your Facebook friends list or you're going through an old phone book that you have, personal contact list, you just want to get names on a list. And there's only a couple rules that applies to this. The people on this list, A, they have to be adults, so they have to be 18 years age of older. Nobody can have a doTERRA account if they're younger 18. 2, if they're married, then they count as one person, because in doTERRA, married couples have a shared account, not separate accounts. And then also, you only want people on this list that don't have a doTERRA account yet. Or if they're signed up already, they have an account somewhere else with another team, then they wouldn't be on your list. Okay? And the fourth rule is that you have to be able to contact them somehow. So although I'm sure we would all love to put Brad Pitt on our contact list, I'm not sure we would be able to effectively get a hold of Brad to have him try an oil this Valentine's Day. Anyway, I'm going to share my list with you, okay? My list template, so you can see how I organize it. This is actually going to help a great deal in explaining it. So let me share my screen. And yes, I will send you a link so that you can make your own copy of this. All right. You should be looking at my doTERRA names list template. The first thing you're going to see, look at this purple section. This is just the basic place where you're going to put their name, contact information, and then once they enroll, you're going to keep track of their basic membership details here. And then the section to the right is really, really important. But I'll get to that in just a second. First, your first assignment is to go through and just go ahead and put down 100 names onto this list, okay? Just brain dump. That should take an hour or less. Then, once you have 100 or so names on this list, you're going to go into the green section. This part is essential because what you're going to do is you're going to look at 7 different characteristics or 7 traits that a lot of the top doTERRA leaders tend to have, and see how many of these traits the various contacts have that you've put on your list. This, my friends, is a powerful, powerful tip. If you do this well, it's kind of like printing money for your business. It is such a good strategy It sets you up for success. This is the difference between starting a business plan sort of randomly and just seeing how it goes, and starting a business plan with a formula for success, a proven formula that works, so you know exactly where you're going and why. Now, to be clear, these characteristics have nothing to do with who needs oils. All right? Everyone needs oils. This has everything to do with who is statistically the most likely to turn around and also share doTERRA in one way or the other. Okay? The reason that you want to organize your list according to these traits is because when you're structuring your organization, you want to be able to have the people that are most likely to do the business in the top spots of your organization on the first couple levels, and then the people who are more likely to just be happy customers beneath them, so that the people who are also sharing and growing doTERRA can help you support those customers, and you're placing things strategically for the best growth for your whole team. All right? I'll go into that more in depth in the complete training. Just trust me at this point, this is a key step. Here's your 7 traits. The first one is this: most top leaders tend to be female. Okay? So if the person you have put on this list is a female, they get 1 point. Chad does not, Sarah does. Now, I have 35 to 45 years here as the optimal age demographic. Okay, I've seen other people set it from 30 to 50 or 35 to 55, somewhere right around there. And there's not one exactly right answer to this, but I will tell you that this is kind of a nice approximate age to shoot for as your optimal demographic, because this is when people tend to be raising their kids. It also tends to be when they have just the right amount of drive to get things done in their life and to start becoming more health conscious. A lot of factors play into this. So let's say Sarah is 27, so she doesn't get a point here, but let's say Chad does, because Chad is 40 years old. Okay, so then the third characteristic is, if they're in a relationship, do they have a supportive spouse or partner? Meaning, is this somebody who's going to support them in doing the business, or is this the kind of person who's a little bit manipulative and controlling and is going to hold them back, tell them, no, you can't do this? That would be a big negative. So if they have a supportive spouse or partner, that's a plus. Let's say Sarah has this and Chad doesn't. Financial need is the fourth characteristic. Do they have a strong, compelling reason to want to create extra income? This just boils down to motivation, because there's a lot of people in life who have financial need, quite frankly, but you're really looking for people who want to change those circumstances, and they want to put their actions behind that and do something about it. So let's say Sarah has this and Chad has this. Most people do. Fifth characteristic, are they natural health minded? Meaning, are they healthy people? Are they wanting to be healthy people? And are they into natural health specifically? This can be whatever. Maybe they're into yoga, or maybe they're into eating organic. Some form of natural health would be helpful. Let's say Sarah's not in that, but Chad is. Then the sixth characteristic is, do they have business experience? Are they business minded? Or do they have like some kind of sales experience, so that, you know, talking to people isn't a difficult piece for them? If they have any kind of experience there, that would be very helpful. The last, seventh characteristic is, are they socially influential? This can also take different forms, like people who are good with people. That'd be like a form of being socially influential. Or you have like the prom king and the prom queen type, you know, influencers, the popularity contest winners. And then you've got the people who are just, you know, really, really, I guess, wise. And a lot of people go for them for advice. Maybe they run like an online, like a blog that a lot of people flock to. If they're socially influential, you give them another point in this. So let's say Chad and Sarah are both socially influential. Actually, no, Chad's not. So you're going to see here, this adds up automatically. Sarah has 5 of the 7 characteristics, and Chad has 4. So after you go back through your whole list, and you're just going to assign these characteristics quickly, if they have it, you'll get good at it as you're going, then this will allow you to sort your list. If you want to know how to sort the list, okay, you're going to go to, I believe it's data, and you're going to sort your sheet by column A. So you're going to highlight column A. Oop, I did it backwards. So you're going to highlight column A, go Z to A. There we go. Now, the top number, if let's say you had somebody with 7 characteristics, they're going to be here at the very top. The people with 7 characteristics, then the people with 6 characteristics, then the people with 5, and so on and so forth. That gives you your order in which you're going to reach out to people, okay? Now, let me just point out some of the rest of this list template, because this will also help you track the steps of reaching out to people in the optimal way. But before going farther, I want to give a shout out to Emily Jacobson. She's a silver wellness advocate on our team, and she helped me create this beautiful spreadsheet. She had a lot of the design and coloring and things like that. So thank you, Emily. Now, here's when it comes to the steps. This is when you're actually going to get to the sampling and inviting stage. Okay. The very first thing that you need to do is establish a dialogue with the person. This is especially helpful if, like, you haven't spoken to somebody in about 3 years or so. The last thing you should do is contact them out of the blue and be like, hey, do you want to try some essential oils? Nobody likes that feeling when they feel like they're just being used, they're just being contacted in order for you to sell something. So don't talk about oils right away. Now, if you already have an established dialogue with somebody, a rapport with somebody, right? Like you talk to them frequently, then it's not going to be out of the blue, and you can move on to the second step. So make sure that you have an established dialogue with the person, and then you can go to the second step. The second step is you are going to identify a health issue with an acute symptom that you can help them with a sample. Here's the thing, you're going to run across people who have really big needs, right? Like they've got diabetes, or they got cancer, they have like an autoimmune disease, or things that will take months of protocol to be able to impact and help them with. And that's fine, we can help them, but that's not your introduction. That's not your foot in the door to introduce them to essential oils. You're looking for a health issue that you can give them a really quick positive experience with. That's the end goal. So whatever the health issue is, it usually has an acute symptom that you can help relieve them of, and then they can go, wow, that really worked. And at that point, that's when you're going to actually invite them, okay? So these are the 7 health issues that I typically look for, okay? You're going to want to look for headaches, any kind of muscular pain, right? Like back pain, or like a lot of neck pain, things like that would qualify, or people who work out and are constantly have muscular pain. Joint pain, people who have arthritis, RA, right? Any kind of creaky joints that you can help them with. Digestive issues, right? Whether they just kind of have a sick stomach, or they're not digesting properly, or they're constipated, or or the opposite of constipated, right? There's a lot of things that we can help them out with digestive wise. respiratory issues. Maybe they have a cold, or they have allergies, or they have a cough. They have asthma, something like that, that you can help that acute issue. Sleep issues. If somebody's having trouble sleeping, or their kids are having trouble sleeping, we can help them with that really quickly. And then stress or mood issues in general are things that we can impact very quickly. So that's what I would focus in on, and finding an issue with one of those 7 things. So keep your ears open when you're talking to people and you're establishing relationship with them for a health issue that you can help them with, okay? Then you go on to giving them a positive experience with the oil. So those are your first 3 objectives. Establish the dialogue, identify one of the health issues to help them with, and then give them a positive experience. Once you've given them a positive experience, that's when you invite them to the class. Why? Because a person who's had a positive experience is in a complete different psychological space than a person who has never experienced these things before. And now you're inviting them to come to some class. They're highly skeptical, and they might not even show up, right? Because they're going, I don't know, what is this? If they've already experienced it, you don't have to prove to them that these work. They already know they work. They've experienced it. So this kind of person is way more likely to show up to a class, and B, they show up in a mode where they're just trying to figure out what they want to get. You don't have to convince them that they work anymore. Okay, so that said, I want to bring up a separate guide that's going to help you walk through the specific sampling process, all right? You may not be able to read this on my screen, and that is totally fine. Let's see if I can zoom in just a titch. That's funny. I'm zooming in and it's getting smaller. Let's zoom out and see what that does. Okay. Oh, no, I was going the other way. There we go. I will put this online so that everybody has this as well. But this sampling flowchart will help you walk through the exact steps here. Now, you're going to see this process starts when you're inviting them to try the sample. So you should have already identified something that you're going to help them with, and then you're offering them to try the sample, okay? This says you're going to deliver the sample. Obviously, you're either going to deliver that in person, maybe right away, or maybe if they're local here, you're going to drop it off, or if they're remote, then you're going to mail it. If you mail it, this is the only reason you would ever give more than 1 sample right away. Otherwise, you only give 1 sample with like 10, maybe 15 drops in it, okay? You're just trying to give them a positive experience. You're not trying to hook them up for the next 3 months. That's not the objective of this. A lot of people shoot themselves in the foot by sending people full bottles of oil, right? And while that's really nice and generous, it's not actually very helpful for getting the person to take control of their own health and their own doTERRA membership. So you're going to deliver a sample. If you're sending it in the mail, I mentioned maybe you send a couple samples, 2 or 3, that would help with a similar issue. That way, if the first sample doesn't work for them, because people are different, right? If the first sample doesn't work for them, they can move on to the second one. You just be sure to instruct them to only use 1 at a time, right? Now, on this flow chart, it says a 2-day check-in. What that actually means is that you need to check in with them within 2 days. What I typically do is tell them that I'm going to follow up with them the next day. But the main point of this is that you don't want to wait any longer than 2 days in order to check in with them. And by the way, you never give anybody a sample that you do not have a telephone number for, because you have to be able to call them to check up on them. What does that mean? That means you don't just hand out a sample with your business card and hope they contact you. Won't happen, or it's very unlikely to happen. So this flowchart goes in 2 directions. You're going to call them and you're going to say, hey, did you have an opportunity to try the sample yet? The reason you do this is because if you just say, hey, how did you like it? They might be compelled to lie to you. If they hadn't used it yet and they feel bad about that, they might be like, oh, yeah, it was great. Sure, thanks. but they didn't really try it. So they haven't really had that positive experience, so they're not going to come to your class. So instead you ask, hey, have you had a chance to try the oil yet? Yeah, I did. Or no, I didn't. So if they said no, they didn't, the flow chart goes down, and then you redirect, meaning you say, okay, here's what we're going to do. You're going to tell them how to use that sample that evening, and then you're going to call back in the morning, right? And then, boom, you call back the next AM. If they tried it, you move on to the invite process. And if they liked it, rather. If they didn't try it, you say, okay, here's what we're going to do. Go grab that sample right now, and I'm going to walk you through how to use it. That way you're kind of making it happen, right? Because obviously this person is really busy or really forgetful or something. So you're just prompting them, use it right away. Now, did it work for you? If it did work for you, if it did work for them, great. Now you go on to inviting them to learn more. If it didn't work for them, if it wasn't an awesome experience, you say, oh, interesting. Tell me about that. You're going to listen to hear, like, did they use it correctly, right? What happened? Maybe they just didn't use it correctly, and that was the problem, and then you can fix that. If they did use it correctly and it just didn't work for them, then you go, hey, no problem. This is just like when you go to the doctors and the doctor has you try a prescription for a specific issue. Those prescriptions don't work for everybody. And so what do you do if the first prescription doesn't work? You go back and you try again. You let them answer, right? Exactly. And this is the same way when we're finding natural solutions. So that just means you're the type of person this one didn't work for. So I want to help you find a solution that will work for you. By the way, it's a really good idea, like when you deliver the sample and you're delivering the initial instructions to them, give them permission to tell you if it didn't work for them. Say, I want you to tell me if this doesn't work for you, because if it doesn't, I'm going to find you the solution that does. Okay. So up on the top of the flow chart, let's say, yes, they tried it. Yes, it was an awesome experience. Let's say you helped them with a headache, or you helped them get a good night's sleep, or you helped them reduce their stress level. Now you invite to the class. You say something along the lines of this. You say, great, I'm so glad that helped you. But here's the thing. You've just experienced the tip of the iceberg on what essential oils can do. I've experienced these in so many ways, and it's blown me away at how much they've improved my life. So much so at this point, I can't even imagine living without them. So here's the thing. I'm teaching 2 oil classes next week, and I want you to come. Which one let's say one's on Tuesday evening and one's on Saturday morning. Which one works for you? And let them answer. If neither one works for them, they are going to answer that, but that's the way you want to approach it. You love teaching about this. They've only experienced the tip of the iceberg. You want to show them all the other ways that they can benefit, and you're teaching. You give them 2 options, and then just ask them which one works best for you. Let them answer. If neither one works, then I would follow up and I would say, great, no problem. I want to get together with you and make sure you know how to use these things. So when would it work for you to get together? And then maybe just schedule a one-on-one with them. You're then going to utilize a methodology that helps ensure that they arrive, in which you call them 2 days before. You're going to call them 2 days before, tell them you're really excited to see them at the class. This is usually when I would mention, and by the way, I also have a really fun surprise for you. And then you're going to text them 2 days before the class, 2 hours before the class, remind them where it is of your address, reemphasize that you're really excited for them to be there, and that the surprise is waiting. Okay, you do those extra couple steps, and it's going to increase greatly the percentage of people who come. Why? Because the call and the surprise pieces, they're nice interactions, and the surprise is a very appealing thing. People just want to find out what the surprise is. Now, the surprise doesn't have to be anything huge. That's not really what's important. Once they get there and once they experience the oils, that is what's going to take precedence in their evening. So for a surprise, you can just make something like on guard popcorn, lavender in your lemonade, something simple like that. I have heard of some people making diffuser jewelry, or a little welcome kit with little sample bottles and spray bottles and ways people can use their oils, and that's fine too. But it's really up to you, and it doesn't have to be. It shouldn't be anything huge. Okay, you don't want to get too elaborate with the surprise. That is the flow chart. That is something I'm really excited for you to have, because if you use this, just become a professional at sampling with this kind of methodology, you're going to have so many more people showing up to the classes and excited to get oils into their home. So train yourself on this. And before I go, I want to make one quick plug. The Enroll Pro app. The Enroll Pro app, which has just recently been revamped, is an incredible tool. And I highly recommend that you use it. This can also track contacts for you, and it can help you walk people through those various steps. And it has a lot of content to help you with that as well. So I highly recommend integrating the Enroll Pro app with these methodologies. And if you are interested in the Enroll Pro app, you want to download it on your phone. Don't upload your contacts directly from your phone, because that'll just take everyone in your phone and flush it right into the Enroll Pro app. You might want to be a little bit more strategic about it than that. But then you can also take the Enroll Pro app, get it onto your desktop, on your computer, and use that piece to do a lot of the uploading of contacts into the Enroll Pro app, if you choose to use it. But this would be a really good word of the wise. If you're going to get into the Enroll Pro app, this would be a really good time to do it, because it's likely that we're going to have BOGOs next week, and starting February 18th or so, probably. And if you have that app up and running at that point, you're going to be able to use their pre-created content in order to send that out to a lot of people who you already have in your team, or people you want to get interested in those oils in that very important BOGO week. So there's my template, my list template, the sampling flow chart, and a plug for the Enroll Pro app. I hope that was helpful. I look forward to doing the full training on the full system, but good luck and have fun.